Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Right, so this afternoon or today I actually wanted to talk a little bit about international students and the process of securing job as a lecturer in the UK within higher education system. So right, as an international student, obviously I imagined you either come here for a MSc or maybe a doctorate program, and looking out for how you can then use your qualification to get a job within the system in terms of lecturing. Now, obviously, there are different ways or different requirements that can help you secure such position, but I will be talking a little bit about my experience as what I did and some of the things that I've had colleagues do that have put them up and a bit higher than the general applicants. Right, so from the perspective that you're an international student, it means you obviously had some of your education from out or outside the UK. So you definitely would need to have one or two qualifications within the system that's within the UK system to familiarize yourself with higher education and the process of being a student, which can then help you to translate into being a lecturer or securing a position as a lecturer. Now, so if you'd come in as a master student, ideally you would be better if you are a PhD holder to get a full-time, especially if you're going to get a full-time position that would also give you a visa sponsorship, right? So you would ideally be expected to have a PhD or working towards that. So the first thing I would say is think about, depending on if you're here for a master's currently, think about what are the things that you can or how can you secure your position or a space in terms of a PhD program. So either you already are in the system as a PhD student, or you completed your PhD. So whichever one of the two. So that would be the first thing I would suggest if you're here as an international student doing a master's program and thinking about how you would like to secure a PhD after a lecturer position after your study. So first of all, think of how can you apply to get a PhD, which is what really puts you in the pathway for lecturership appointment. Now, this next thing that would be useful is to think about the part-time teaching opportunities that you can tap into as a student while you're studying. So if you're studying as a master's student, for example, you would need to think about what are the experiences that you can gain in terms of part-time programs that can part-time roles that can help prepare you in that direction. So when I say part-time roles, I'm talking about maybe internship, research assistants, which some of these can be quite short, maybe 3, 4, 6 months, and many of them are paid. So you can maybe look out for those within your university, and some lecturers have grants that would allow them to employ students for a few months. So looking at targeting those would be a way to sort of like start the process. If you're doing PhD already, then I mean you're quite on the path. So one of the ways would be to look at teaching support within that's required within the department that you're studying at. Now, there's something called I believe some of you know, there's something called hourly paid lecturer within university higher education context. I did that while I was studying for my PhD. I was part-time hourly paid lecturer for a few sessions. So I did that. The reason being, I did that, and I did that paid and voluntary as well. So you can also think about not just getting paid. There are sometimes you don't get funding for that, so you could offered to do that as a voluntary role. So I did both paid and voluntary. I did paid for a very short time, and then I got a longer contract, or a longer opportunity to teach students in a voluntary capacity. So I wasn't paid for that period, but obviously I knew what I wanted. I wanted to use that as a platform for me to step into teaching, and it was more like a learning process for me. I had my mentor then, my academic mentor was part of the teaching team, so she was there throughout my teaching and giving me feedback as I was delivering lectures and seminars for students. So that would be another thing that you should sort of like try and target within the department. Look at senior lecturers that have more teaching or high teaching capacity, that would maybe have one or two courses that you can support. Maybe start by demonstration and then seminar presentation and possibly actual lecturing. And marking as well. I also did marking at some point, so you could also get that sort of opportunity going. I mean, all of these, this is just a very broad overview. I would be making mini videos to talk about different aspects of this of the process that I'm sort of like touching on. The next one would be looking at if you can secure, especially as a PhD, if you're a PhD student, if you can secure the teaching program, the part-time program that I talked about. If you can secure that, that would be good. The next thing is to think about doing the introduction to teaching practice. I believe most universities offer that to PGRs, so and it's free. When I did mine, it was for 3 days. I believe some universities you have it for like 5 days, so like a week. My advice would be to register for such program and get it done. So what you do is, for my university, my former university actually, if you don't get it done, you're not going to be introduced to students to teach in any capacity at all. So get that done. And after that, after doing that, you get a certificate for it, but it's not really recognizable. It's not a very recognized certificate, but it just shows you've done it. So for you to use that, what I would advise is use that introduction to teaching practice. So even if you haven't done actual teaching in a significant capacity, use that to apply for what is called the Associate Higher Education Academy Fellowship. So this is Associate Fellowship with the Higher Education Academy in the UK. So this is a teaching qualification that is organized by the Higher Education Academy, and they are now called Advanced Higher Education Academy, and their role is to sort of like pull teaching lecturers and anyone within teaching that's got teaching roles within university, pull them together under one umbrella. So having some form of association with that organization actually gives you a whole huge advantage compared to other candidates. So looking at how you can use your teaching introduction to teaching practice to then design or to then write on your application for associate fellow will be my other advice. Like I said, all of these are just broad overview. I have done all of this and I can go in depth into each one in terms of applying for associate fellow and using that to secure a job. Now the other thing is looking at conferences. So obviously teaching conferences, some like BERA, which is the British education higher education association. So sort of like those teaching those higher education conferences that has to do with education are also some things that you can attend and include in your CV to really showcase you as someone that is on the path to be a lecturer. In all, all of that is preambles or precursors to actually applying. So in terms of applying, there are different ways to apply, or at least to get notified of job application. I mean, if there's no job application, you can't apply, can you? So you need to think about where are the easiest and most frequently advertised job portals that you can subscribe to, that would inform you when there's a job around your area of interest that you can then put in your application for. Now I would stop here. So I have mentioned 5 to 6, I believe, key elements that you should think about. So the first one, quick recap, the first one I said is, if you're doing a master's, think about looking at internship and other programs that can up your CV. If you're doing PhD, ideally looking into definitely research assistant roles. And also, and you might think research assistant role, how does that impact? Well, it does impact on your experience with higher education, so that would be a good one. And also looking into voluntary and paid teaching, hourly paid teaching roles within your department that as available. If they are not even within the department, they can be across faculty, so that would be another option. The other option would be to look into completing your introduction to teaching practice, and then use that to then apply for the associate fellowship from the higher education academy. And finally, subscribing to key job application portals that would notify you when there's position open that you can then apply for. Now I'm gonna wrap this up here, and I hope this gives you sort of like, things to think about. We can delve into each of these space and each of these option as we go along in depth more. So but anyway, I just wanted to drop this here, and thank you guys for listening, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.